I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ, 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 Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Apparently I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast. Mike Schmidt, your friend from the internet and radio. From radio? Not really from radio. What if maybe you get this on a radio? Maybe a ham radio. Maybe you found me on a ham radio. I just saw a movie called The Bank Job, and it was awesome. And in the movie, there's a ham radio guy who plays kind of a key moment. And I talked to Karen. I was like, if that really happened, if there was really a bank job going on and a ham radio guy picked up signals, how hard would that guy's dick be the entire time? Because his life's hobby had finally paid off, where he was in some sort of investigation instead of hearing guys in Russia talk about borscht or hearing like weather balloons be launched. Finally, he's onto something, and he would just be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to call the cops as soon as I furiously masturbate." And it's funny. My stepdad is like a ham radio guy, and it's funny. Like in theory, I remember when I was a kid, I had a radio that had police band. And it always sounds like a great idea at first. You're like, oh, this will be awesome. I'll listen to police calls. But why? Why is that exciting at all? That was like the beginning of reality TV. Like when couldn't be voyeurs into people's lives then. When you were a kid, reality TV was a telescope. That's what it was. You know what I mean? You went ahead and climbed up on a roof and looked into somebody's house, and you were like, oh, look, I cannot believe she's naked. Although, why wouldn't she be naked? It's her house. But yeah, I had police band as a kid. I don't understand it. Who needs police band? Why would you want to hear police calls? It's boring. Unless you're out chasing ambulances or something, and you're setting up like a 4-way car accident scam gypsy thing. You ever hear about those when they got like the insurance scams? Those are awesome. Those are awesome, I say. Listen, those are great. Those car insurance gypsy scams, and also a great name for a band. Car insurance gypsy scams. God, I love it. Lili just told me a joke before we went on air. Lili is, that's what Lili does, is she tells jokes. But she tells, she doesn't have any aptitude for telling long jokes because she loses her way halfway through because she's kind of a scramble head. But she'll tell you these, little short punchline jokes that always have, a cock in them or something. And I told her, I go, you're like an uncle with big tits. That's what you are. Like when your uncle would always come up and have some horrible joke or pull my finger, or he would pull his earlobe and his tongue would come out, and then he would push his nose and his tongue would go back in. That's what Lili is, but with a giant rack. She's like a clown without makeup and a clown suit. She's like a hot clown. Like if there was a clown who did crazy jokes and had a rubber chicken, but had was someone that you actually wanted to bang, you'd be like, man, I'd love to fuck that clown. That clown's hysterical, and I'd love to stick something inside of it that's attached to my body. Yeah, so that's Lili. She's a hot clown. Hot clown sounds like it should be one of those, like a hot Carl, like a sex act or something. Hey, I got donkey punched, and after that I got an angry pirate, and then I got a hot clown. That's your challenge, America. Come up with what a hot clown could possibly be. That'd be great. Hold on. iPhone's talking to me in the little headphones there. Am I the only one who hears it? Maybe I am. Yeah, I'm a robot, folks. Again, I'm hypersensitive. To smells and to sounds. I can hear stuff, but I can't hear. Here's the thing. I can't hear anything. I'm sort of deaf. I can't hear real sounds. But if I'll hear these tiny, maybe I need a fucking tinfoil hat. Maybe I need at this point. Maybe I'm just bananas. Because I'll hear little things and I'll go, hey, did you hear that? And nobody else hears it, but I heard it. And by the way, let me clear this up. I'm going to go ahead and do this right now. All of you, please listen to me now. I am not 42 years old. I listened to the show last week, and Lili said to me, when she was putting it together, she goes, you're not 42, right? I go, no, I'm 41. She goes, well, you said you were 42 on the show. And that's the hazards of talking off the top of your head, where you're just I'm a 42-year-old man. And I did this from the time I was 36 or 37. I would even say, well, I'm a 40-year-old man. What the hell? Even though I wasn't 40. But I was always just in generalities. I would speak and say, I'm 40 because I was ballpark. I was 4 years, 3 years, 2 years away. But now it just seems weird to be 41 and keep saying that I'm 42. Who makes generalities within a year? And 2 is even harder to say than 1. Like, it wasn't even easier to say within the context of the story. 41 rolls. 42, you actually have to put effort in because you got to form your mouth around the word 2. A lot of effort in saying 2, folks. But so anyway, I'm 41. So let's all take that. Because then I listened back to the show, and I thought maybe I said it once in the context of just telling a story. I think I said it 7 times. And by the way, 7 times 6, 42. That's right. I'm apparently, and now I'm going to drop some matches and tell me how many were in the pack. Because I'm Ray. What was that Rain Man's name? Roy? Phil? Those are just names that I like. They're not Rain Man's names. What was Dustin Hoffman's character's name in Rain Man? Ernie? I don't remember. How can I not remember? She's going to Google it now. But no, it's not that important. But yeah. So Ray. There it was. I said Roy, but it's Ray. Yeah, because I remember Cruz yelling at him, Ray. Come on, Ray. No, Ray. All right. So, but again, there you go. I'm not 42. Suck on that. I'm 41. Because I did get an email, too, from someone saying, hey, you're 42. I thought you were 41. Didn't you just turn 41? Because apparently someone is investigating my age very closely. Because because the show's the 40-year-old boy, and then when I turned 41, people would write me emails and say, are you going to change the name? Well, no, I dealt with that then. No, I'm not. I mean, because again, as 42 is harder to say than 41, 41 is much more difficult to say than 40. So for aesthetics, we're going to stay with the 40-year-old boy. When I turn 50, then I'll have to change it. But in context, 40 works. But emails this week, people are like, aren't you 41? Like with this weird detective type of language. You've stated many times that you were 40, just turned 41. However, in this week's show, you've said 42 several times. Okay, well, first of all, grow up. Second of all, who cares? Nobody cares. Especially in this town. I mean, if I was going to lie, why would I take 1 year off of my age? Why would I say, you know what, folks, seriously, I'm 41. But I thought you were 42. You know what, keep it amongst ourselves. I'm 41. I have a friend that I know who is older than me by like 3 years. Now is younger than me, thanks to Los Angeles math. And I'm not going to say who that person is, but I grew up with them. I'm going to mention that. And I will tell you that person is now younger than me, and is like 2 years younger than me. That's the best part. Like, he's 3 years older than me, but now is 2 years younger than me somehow. And so I don't know if maybe I should just lie. Maybe I should say I'm 50. Maybe I just go that route. So then I'm like 15 years older than somebody. Yeah. So let's clarify that mistake from last week. Coming to you on a Wednesday record at it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I don't even know. All I know is right now, as I'm talking to you, the Philadelphia Phillies are playing in their first game of the playoffs, and I don't know what's going on. I TiVo'd it because I knew I had to do this. And I wanted to do it later, but then Lili was like, whatever, jerk. And I said, all right, well, I'll do it when you want to do it, ma'am. No, that's a lie. The thing is, we have to do it because the good folks over at SwitchPod, who are our hosts, will post the show sometimes at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then Lili will call me at 5 in the morning and go, hey, the show's up. Because the elves at SwitchPod can't be bothered to put my show up to the internet any quicker than 12 hours. That's the layover time. And poor Lili then is up, playing online poker all night and just fielding phone calls from me. Is it up? No, it's not up yet. Hold on, I've got a 3-2 offsuit. Click. So the Phillies are playing right now, and I'm ecstatic. I am so happy that the Phillies are, and both Chicago teams are in the playoffs. I'm from Chicago, but I'm a Phillies fan, folks. That's the way it works. That's the way it's going to be. And there's a reason for that. If you want to know why, Google the name Mike Schmidt, and you'll find out why I'm a Phillies fan. But it's funny, all my Chicago friends are like, oh, you're a dick. It's funny. I asked Lili. I asked her to write down minutes. Like in radio, this is what they do. They're very professional, and then they'll write minutes down, or they'll give you like cues. So I said to her a couple weeks ago, she started doing it. Like she wrote down like where we were at time-wise, and she would show it to me, and I was excited about that. I was like, oh, this is, anything that makes this show more professional, I'm for, as long as it has nothing to do with me. Anything that makes the show professional on her end, great, do it. That's fantastic. But for, if anything I had to do, like show up on time or, get up, no, fuck all that. Because then it's funny with her, I'm like, look, I know you're putting in a lot of work, but I really would like you to do this. For me, it's, come on, it's a free show in a kitchen. What the hell? So she's supposed to hold up the thing. So she didn't last week. She didn't tell me the minutes. She did but not for the whole time. Whatever, who cares? But just now, I said to her, "Do me a favor. Where are we at?" She's like 8 minutes. I go, "Can you hold up the thing and just in 5-minute intervals to let me know where we're at?" She goes, "Yeah, I can do that." And then she held up the 10-minute sign. So I guess I'm going to be getting it in 2-minute intervals, folks. So I'll know down to the second where we're at from now on, timing-wise. Yeah. So what was I talking about? Phillies. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm excited, and I hope they won. Let's hope they won. And actually, you know what? By the time you hear this, they might be playing game 2. And that's quite an assumption on my part to think that you would listen to it the second you get it. Listen, I know the second it shows up, you all stop what you're doing and you immediately rush to your iPods. Oh my Christ! Or possibly you rush to your Zunes. But you could rush to your Zune anyway because in a fit of pique you went, hey, you know what? I might just put this down the garbage disposal. It's so fucking useless. My brother owns a Zune and he hates that I make fun of the Zune. Like he actually sends me notes about why the Zune is better. Like I don't. You know what? First of all, I'm just kidding. I don't think I've ever even seen a Zune. I've never looked at one. Quite frankly, what I figure it would be, again, because it's from Microsoft, I figure it's got to have some other like application besides an MP3 player. Like I'm sure there's a bottle opener and a toothpick that slides out the side. You know, because they're not comfortable just doing one thing. They have to go, oh, you know what? But not only is it an MP3 player, but it tastes delicious. And then you get to eat it, and then you're like, oh, I can't play music. Well, that's okay. Buy another one for $199. This strikes me. Microsoft, how could you improve on the iPod? I don't know how you can possibly improve on it. It is the seminal invention of my generation, the iPod. I have 70 gigs of music in a matchbook. How do you improve upon that? I used to carry around a suitcase of cassettes, folks. A double-sided suitcase that had 125 cassettes on either side. I was like the rockinest businessman you ever met. Like it was like the bag in Desperado, like the guitar case that he'd open it up and it was full of guns. I had a suitcase and everybody like, wow, what a fancy suitcase. And I'd go, yes, you think so? Check out the lover boy section. People were loving every minute of it, I can tell you that. And now all of the music I own, all of it, 70 gigs of music, I can put in my pocket. It's an amazing invention. That Steve Jobs should be carried around on like a platform at all times by people because of the invention of the iPod. And then Bill Gates said, "How do I feast?" Like Mr. Burns, he's just in his office going, how do I get in on this iPod? Ooh. Then they invent a Zune and they have a bunch of commercials where white people are running around enjoying them. Terrible. Microsoft, it's just always a beat off with Microsoft, you know, and a beat off. And now we're back to last week's show. It's always just a little off. You know, they did the commercials with Jerry Seinfeld. They're like, well, we'll show you. We'll be funny too. Ha ha. And then they bring out Jerry Seinfeld, who, you know, if you'd have done these commercials 10 years ago, everyone would have been like, these are great. But now people are just, because everybody is full of snark. Everybody is waiting to beat up on everything you do. Everybody is waiting to pick it apart and make fun of it. So the second you pull out Jerry Seinfeld to appeal to younger viewers, you know, Jerry Seinfeld is like 53 years old. That's like going, you know what, we got to get these kids on board. What are the Rolling Stones doing? Can we have them play a song? Because I think kids really relate to their great-grandfather in spandex. And this is nothing against the Rolling Stones. What they do very well for the people who enjoy it. I enjoy it. I saw it on the last tour in Dodger Stadium and was stunned by how great it was. I couldn't believe that they were as good as they were and they brought that energy. But you know what? If you're trying to get young kids, you know, the people from iPod are finding bands that, you know, they're breaking bands in iPod commercials. That's how much of a science they've made it. They find bands and they break them within the context of iPod commercials without even showing the band. They'll play the song and everybody goes, holy shit, what was that song on the iPod commercial? Then you see the Zune commercial and it's, you know, like 4 old people holding hands and skipping down a street while there's something from West Side Story plays. It's like, come on. Who are you trying to attract? The people you're advertising for listen to their music in their cars on AM. They won't wear earbuds because they're uncomfortable and they think they make them look silly. Who are you trying to attract with your commercials? The Seinfeld commercials. And I also didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't think the Seinfeld commercials were that bad. because they were just ridiculous. They were just out of left field. Gates is terrible because he's awful because he's Bill Gates. I mean, he's not a comic of any sort. If you just had Seinfeld living with that family, or if you had Seinfeld at the shoe store, I think that it comes across as funnier, personally. I am getting looks from Lili, but I don't care. I didn't think it was egregious. Let's put it that way. All I'm reading about online is how stupid it was and foolish and what a waste of money, and I agree with all those things, but I don't think they were bad. I think they were a misfire. Again, if you do those commercials 10 years ago, I think people like them a lot more than they did. So then they're like, oh, you know what? The Seinfeld thing didn't work. But we're going to get rid of Seinfeld. But it was all planned. We were only giving him $12 million to do 2 commercials, and especially one commercial that we're going to show once on a Sunday afternoon and then never show again. That was our whole plan. We're going to give him $12 million to do that. That's what we wanted to do. So because we wanted to contribute to Scientology, but we wanted to do it as indirectly as possible. So we went ahead and gave Seinfeld $12 million, knowing that he's going to give them $9 million. So. And I have no evidence that Jerry Seinfeld is a Scientologist other than the fact that I think he had a club sandwich with Tom Cruise. But, and as far as I know, he and his wife might be, they could be, from the Whig party. I have no idea what religion or political affiliation the Seinfelds have. So, I know he worships, you know what? I think he goes to the Church of Porsche. That's what he goes to. I read a magazine thing once. He bought like an apartment building and converted it into a garage, and they showed the inside of it, and I think he's got 15 Porsches just in that building.
Oh God!
And that is a rich guy who's talking about socks in a dryer. And that boils it down to nothing because let's be honest, his show was amazing. I still watch it, and I'm stunned by how good it was. And but then I see the Seinfeld commercial, and I'm like, oh boy. But then Microsoft cuts that loose and goes, you know what? We're going in a completely different direction now. And now they have people saying, I'm a PC? To combat the Mac PC John Hodgman brilliance and Justin Long, the Mac commercials, which are understated and funny and done extremely well. And so then Microsoft, again, they don't get it. Because those commercials are 2 guys in a room talking. I'm a PC. I'm a Mac. And so occasionally they'll have a guy in there, or to someone to show the folly of their ways. Then Windows goes, you know what's bad about those commercials? The fact that they're not filmed in the ocean. So then they do, I'm a PC. And they have like some guy in Zimbabwe who's like, I'm a PC and I teach all these people. So what? No one cares. You know what? You're a PC because that's what was donated to you by the Red Cross or the I mean, it's not like you went to the store and went, oh, I'd love to get a Mac. I don't know why that's an Irish guy who's teaching in Zimbabwe. I don't know. That wasn't even an accent. Like I committed to it right in the beginning and then bailed on it and said, I can't do voices. What the hell am I doing? Hi, for sure, and I want to get a Mac, please. That's an Irish guy. And that's my cousin who I'm going to go visit and steal his potatoes. I mentioned that last week. Those commercials are hysterical to me. They'll have a guy in a wetsuit and he's like, I'm a PC and this is my office. So what? I'm not buying a fucking computer because the scuba diver from my fish tank uses it. You know what I mean? I don't. Who goes? Oh, look at all those people who use PCs. And commercials. Who buys anything because a commercial says to buy it? Nobody. Our society's become so cynical, and besides, nobody has any money left after the doings of the last couple of weeks, so nobody's buying anything at all. I love the fact that the market is crashing, and all of these people, there's a filibuster, and nobody can pass a bill, and there's a bailout, and then Microsoft gave Jerry Seinfeld like $12 million to do commercials. One of them they showed once. Yeah, there's no money. Everything's gone to hell in this country. 5 people have all the money in this country. That's right. It's a conspiracy. What am I? All of a sudden now I'm that guy. Stop. You know who doesn't have all the money in this country, folks? Me. Because I was leaving my house today and I open up the mailbox and there's an envelope from Thrifty Rental Car. And I was very disappointed to see that envelope because I'll tell you why. Last year for Christmas, I went home to Chicago and I used Thrifty Rent a Car. I enjoy their work. They seem to do a good job. They rent cars. I needed to rent a car, and I'm exceptionally thrifty. So it all seemed to work out well. I go there. They talk me into 9 upgrades. I leave there driving a bus. Now, not a bus. Well, here's the thing. I had a dinner schedule with my friends. We were going to go out to dinner, and we were bringing like 8 friends. So I said, you know what? I'm going to rent some big cars so we can all go together. I hate driving to Chicago, and then we all have to valet, whatever. So I rented a Chrysler Touring something. I don't know. It was huge. It wasn't not as big as the Tundra that I rented a couple weeks ago that I still wake up having nightmares free falling through. But I rent this big Chrysler thing, and it fits, like 8 people. So I rent that, and it's myself and Karen, and then some couples. We bring Max. I've mentioned Max and his wife, and we bring Jeff. Jeff went. His wife couldn't go. Whatever. So we wind up going. We went to Table 52, which is Art Smith, who is Oprah's personal chef, has a restaurant in Chicago called Table 52. It was named the Restaurant of the Year. Karen went ahead and got reservations in October of last year, and we went there for around Christmas. So we go down to have a meal, and it was great. It was, again, one of those deals where they bring you, free deviled eggs. There's an amuse-bouche. Anytime you go somewhere where there's an amuse-bouche, you're in. This is going to be a great meal. And it's just a blur of steaks and pork chops and, comfort food. It's one of those restaurants that was great. So I'm sitting there with my friends, and at the end of the meal, the way they work it is the valets, they come to your table, and they start your car for you because they find out as you're paying your bill. Because it's cold, it's winter, that's how they do it. So I'm paying the bill, and a guy comes to the table, and he goes, hi, was everything okay? And we're like, yeah, the meal was good. And he takes the check. So he lets me pay the check. Then he goes, he takes the check, he goes, thanks. And he says, did you folks have a Chrysler Touring Company vehicle, whatever it's called? And I said, a Pacifica. That's what it was. He goes, did you folks have a Chrysler Pacifica? And I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little troubled by the past tense in his voice of that sentence. Did you folks have a Chrysler Pacifica? And I go, yeah. And he goes, did you valet it? I said, we did. Are you going to start it up for us? He goes, your car's been stolen. Now, you'll notice I mentioned that he let me pay the check first. So as I handed him the $645 dinner tab, I sit there and I'm processing the fact that now my rental car has been stolen. So we're in downtown Chicago. We got to get back to a suburb, which is about 30. We got to get back to Naperville, which is like 35 miles southwest. And I look at him and go, what do you mean it was stolen? He goes, well, it was stolen from our valet. I said, how does that even happen? Like, did a valet take off in it? Like, is this Ferris Bueller? Did he just, like, go on a crazy joyride in my Pacifica and pick up 18 of his, Panamanian friends and start tooling around town? He's like, no, someone reached into the key box and took your keys and took your vehicle. And it turns out there's another group that had their keys stolen but not their car. So I'm thinking that this person stole my keys and their keys and went in and saw the Pacifica and went, oh, well, let's fucking take that. That's a rental car. We can take that. So they steal my car. So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to process this. So they got to call the cops. And then I have to talk to Chicago cops and tell them, it's a rental car. I got to call Thrifty. And let's put it this way. When the second they say your car's been stolen and you're on vacation, your vacation has ended. Because the next 4 days are going to be a blizzard of phone calls and dealing with insurance. By the way, why do I say insurance? It's insurance. I'll do that. I say insurance. It's like when people say Thanksgiving. No, it's Thanksgiving. I'm an idiot. So, because I noticed that Pardo called me out on it one time. He's like, you say insurance? I go, no, I say insurance. And he goes, no, you'll say insurance. And occasionally I do. I'll say insurance. And I have to stop doing that. Because it's insurance. So I have to call my insurance company and find out if they cover me. But at the same time, I'm not responsible for this. This was in the hands of the valet company, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, they got to pay for They now own a Chrysler Pacifica. Good luck, Thrifty and Valet Company, because I'm gonna like a dealer in Vegas. I clap my hands and I slowly back away from the table. That's it. All I'm concerned about right now is getting home from Chicago. So the restaurant is they're very nice, and they're flustered and they can't believe that this happened because they're the restaurant of the year. And but at the same time, immediately everybody starts covering their ass. Everyone. Oh, well, we share that valet company with the next door valet. They're not affiliated with the restaurant. So we don't have any responsibility in this area. But here, would you like some grits? Yes, that's what I wanted. Extra grits, thank you. And they're trying to give us like desserts for the road, and I'm like, that's good. So I'm going to be walking on 55. Is that what's happening? Because how the fuck am I getting home? And they're like, oh well, you know what? We'll talk to the valet people, and so I talked to the cops. I called Thrifty, and we're there another 45 minutes, and we ate well into the night. We were, it was closing time when we were splitting, so they're vacuuming and just they want to go home too. I mean, I don't blame them, but luckily they have their vehicles. So the valet company's like, we're sorry, it's we'll definitely take responsibility, but you need to call this person, and then call this person, and then call this person's wife, and call this person's cousin. Because if you know anything about valet companies, they're a little like the sanitation outfits. Hey, you got to talk to this guy, and that guy's got to talk to this guy, and then we got to get something from those guys. So I'm stunned, except it's not Italian, it's Hispanic guys that you got to talk to. So I'm stunned by that. So then they go, you know what? We'll get you guys a cab. Really? There's 8 of us. You're going to cram the 8 of us into a cab to head home? Really? I think, why don't you just get a hot air balloon and have that fucking come by and kite us back to our house? You pricks. So we wind up talking, and they go, oh, you know what? We'll get you a limo. So they get us a limousine and to go home. And it's funny, there's a picture on my MySpace page of me in the backseat of the limo with Karen, and I did it on purpose. I made this shell-shocked face like, our car's been stolen. But we get in the limo, they take us home, and whatever. So it becomes an adventure at that point. It's fun, you're with your friends, and it's a story, and you're having a good time. Until the next day, when you've got to call Thrifty, and you got to deal with them, and Thrifty starts saying you owe this money, and you're like, no, I don't. And you got to call the valet company, who has an insurance company in Dallas, who has somebody in Tennessee, who has this person. I have to get an okay, and you have to read the fine print on your ticket, and it says we are not responsible for anything going out of your vehicle. Well, okay, what about responsible for the vehicle itself? So I hashed through it, and the thing is, I was in Chicago through New Year's, and then I was working New Year's in Las Vegas. So I was in Chicago till December 30th, and then I had to be in Las Vegas on the 31st. So we flew home on the 30th to Los Angeles, just enough time to do laundry, and then I had to get a plane the next morning to Vegas. So I didn't have any time to call anybody from Thrifty. I mean, I did everything I had to do, I did in Chicago. I spoke to the Chicago Thrifty office. They said, we don't have anything to do with it. We just need the car back. I said, great. Here's the police report number. Go ahead and deal with that. You know how it is. You got to talk to 87 different fucking people to get anything done, and even then you don't get anything done. But I finally get it squared away. I talk to the valet company, and then there's a guy who won't call me back, so I got to go over his head. It's this labyrinthine phone network of talking to people, and my vacation is fucking ruined because then it's 3 days of calling and giving cell numbers and getting numbers. Finally, I square it away. So I come home. I go to Vegas. I'm working in Vegas. I get a phone call on January 3rd, and it's from a guy who works at Thrifty, who I won't say his name, Anthony Lynch, and he calls up, and he leaves a message on my cell phone that can only be described as a verbal machete. This guy, hey, Mr. Schmidt, we understand that you didn't return your car, and you're saying that it was stolen. You're claiming it was stolen, at least, but it hasn't been found. You are responsible for the $28,000 for this car, and you need to pay it or find a way to pay it. He comes after me like I'm a junkie in his bathroom rifling through his medicine cabinet. I mean, full-on, stiff prick, just reaches through the phone and punches me right in the fucking ear. And I lose it. So I immediately figure out his name, and I call up, and he picks up the phone, and this is a guy. This guy is me, but he works at Thrifty because he gets angry at me. I mean, he goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds when he finds out who I am. And I go, look, you called me, and you start dropping all this weird knowledge about how I owe for a car that it was stolen, and here's the police number. And I'm trying to be nice. I'm speaking very quietly and softly and trying to calm him down. And he buzzsaws me, man. Look, you're not going to dodge this, sir. We've been trying to get hold of you for days. We're trying to get da-da-da-da. You're supposed to call. You didn't call. I said, listen, you need to understand something. I'm out on business. I was on business when this happened. I'm on business again another week. I haven't even been home for more than 11 hours. And he just starts launching on me. And finally, I go, Anthony. And he goes, I know my name, sir. I go, well, I'm going to keep repeating it until you shut up. And he goes, sir, you don't have to talk to me like that. I go, what do you mean? You've been talking to me like that for 6 minutes. Listen to me. I'm not responsible for this. It's a valet company. We go at it. And finally, I just go, you know what? I'm done. I need a supervisor's number. I need one immediately because I am about to fly to Dallas. You need to give me this number. So he gives me the number of another guy, supervisor, who I wind up calling. And then you're in phone hell with that guy. And this guy's all timid. Like, to me, I picture him as the head of the department and Anthony Lynch just coming in going, I'm going to fucking lunch. Yes, you are, Anthony. Of course you are. And this guy is a complete pansy. So he calls me, and I'm trying to deal with him. And we play phone tag. I don't even get him. But he finally, and then I also I involve the valet company, and I tell this woman what happened. And she's really cool. And she's like, look, we're taking responsibility. I can assure you of that. I will call them. We'll hash this out. So they wind up hashing it out. And finally, this guy calls my house 3 times. And I still have the messages. They were in January, but I knew this would happen. The third message, finally, he calls me and goes, Mr. Schmidt, this is me. I'm calling from Thrifty to let you know that the valet company has assured us that they are taking responsibility for this. They will be paying the claim. And the only way you will be involved again is if somehow they refuse to pay. But they've assured us that they will. So we just want to let you know that, and thank you very much. So I called him back and left a message saying, I have your message. Thank you so much. This is in January. And in my head, I go, I hope that's over. Pretty sure it is. Because I don't hear from anybody. I don't get an email. I don't get anything. And I should tell you this also. I bought Karen a jacket for Christmas last year, a coat, because we were in Chicago. But it was a beautiful coat. It was in the car when it was stolen. The valet company, we're not responsible for that. Sorry. I had gotten Christmas gifts from my friends. They gave them to me and they were in the car, gone, stole them with the car. Sorry, we're not responsible for that. So somewhere someone has a copy of Charles Barkley's autobiography. So some homeless guy in a lady's coat is reading aloud about the round mound of rebound. So everything's straightened out. Everything gets fixed. But, like I said, the valet company, that we're not responsible for anything in the car. We're not responsible for this. But I didn't care. I just wanted to make sure they were taking responsibility for what was for the vehicle itself. Everything was squared away. This is in January. I go to my mailbox. I open it up. I have a bill from Thrifty for $3,600. And it says, Mr. Schmidt, we have been trying to get in touch with you regarding this claim from January, and we have not been able to speak to you. You refuse to return our calls. You need to call us immediately at this number. And it's just, and luckily it's a different person. If it would have been Anthony Lynch, I wouldn't even be doing the podcast. I swear to God, I would have gone to the Burbank airport and bought a ticket to Dallas. Because I would have been like, seriously, you've been waiting 10 months to spring this trap, you cock. But sure enough, I called them up, and and again, phone tag, nobody ever answers their phone. And I called them immediately, and I'm like, look, here's what happened. And honestly, I just left a blizzard of names and numbers. Because I was like, you know what? You say you've been trying to get a hold of me. There's no way you've been trying to get a hold of me. You have all of my numbers. You obviously have my address. Here's the story, Stephanie. And I said, I dropped everything. I said, I gave Table 52. I gave the cops. I might have even told this story, quite frankly. I mentioned the jacket and the books and the gifts and the valets and just this long rehash. And then the recording runs out. I call back and I go, and I just picked up. I picked up right where I left off, knowing there's no way anybody had called in between. Just like kept talking. And at the end of it said, go ahead and parse that out. And when you figure it all out, give me a call back. So she's called back. Stephanie called back. I checked my messages, and she said, and again, no spark of recognition. No, I'm sorry. No, okay, thank you for straightening that out. Literally just that customer service, evil monotone. Mr. Schmidt, this is Stephanie calling from Thrifty. I will tell you that I have a phone call into the valet company to see if your story checks out. So go ahead and give us a call. See if my story checks out. Are you kidding me? What are you, the Thrifty police now? You calling me up? Are you? I picture just like Francis McDormand from Fargo, but working for a rental car company. Oh, jeez. I can't believe you got this story you're telling me. Blow me if my story checks out. I've lived in the same place for 11 years. I've had the same phone number for 11 years. Don't tell me you've been trying to get a hold of me. You're not me, Thrifty. Don't try to be Mike Schmidt, because Mike Schmidt's run that game on everybody, baby. Oh, man, I called you. I can't believe you didn't get back to me. What? You didn't call me. You jagoffs. Caller ID has been invented. I would have seen that you'd called. You hump. So I'm dealing with that now. So I get a bill for $3,600 from Thrifty. And that's the thing. What an arbitrary number. 3,600. What could it possibly be for? And also, I should tell you this. When it all hit the fan, they wanted to make me pay for the car. Because it got stolen on like the 27th, and I needed it through the 30th. They wanted me to pay for the final 3 days. I'm not kidding. And I said, you're joking, right? I don't have the car. It's been stolen. I have a police report for you. And they said, look, all we know is for our records, you need to take care. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. Smashing your head into a wall spray painted with the word thrifty. So, insane. So I thought, again, once you think it's all straightened out, it's never straightened out, folks. It never. It will come back. They'll haunt you. And here's my favorite part of the form letter they sent me. At the bottom it said, I authorize Thrifty to charge my credit card for the charges listed on this letter. Sign here. Who does that? Really? Oh, how about if I just mail you a blank check, Thrifty? Why don't you throw lunch for the office in Dallas on the check? You ridiculous dicks. Good Lord. So, yeah, I got that bill today. That was fun. Oh, man. I don't need this kind of aggravation, folks. I was sick. I was going to tell you this story last week. I got sick and went to... You know what? I got to tell this story, all right? Because I started a story last week and completely went off the rails and never got to it. Because I mentioned that I was at a party at Tony Genesis' house, and then I went right into Greg Geppert's party because it had something to do with being at the party at Tony Genesis' house. Now, all right. Remember the story I told you last week where I was at Greg Geppert's and I got drunk and on the way home I was vomiting and it was like black Jello coming out of me? Yes. So that night at Geppert's house, I got loaded and I remember the party. It's so funny how when you get drunk, you remember what you remember is the instant when you decided to get drunk. When you're like, all right, you know what, here we go. Let's go ahead and get plowed. And then the rest of the night is like snapshots. Like, and you even hear the like, like, oh, look, there's me vomiting. Oh, look, there's me with friends. Oh, look, there's me with friends who look disgusted that I'm vomiting. So, but this happened. I'm at this party at Greg Geppert's house, and I'm so loaded, and people are off doing whatever they're going to do, and I've got my head down on a table, and I'm drunk, and I'm just like, that weird like moaning thing you do. And someone starts rubbing my shoulders, and they're like rubbing my back and then rubbing my shoulders, and I'm like, I'm weirded out because I don't know what that. But I'm just like, don't touch me. Like it was like, it didn't matter what it was. I'm just drunk and not having a good time at that point because now I've evolved into sick drunk. So this person puts their head down like close to my ear, and they go, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No," and they're rubbing my shoulders, and this person says, "Do you want to eat my pussy?" and I look up at this person, and I see this. It's a woman. Like I can't identify this person. Like I sort of know them. I think I know the face, but it's not like a girl. I don't know who it is. And I just go, "No," because again, I'm loaded out of my mind. Not even if I wasn't loaded, who knows how I respond to that question? I don't know. You're at a party, someone you've never met before says you want to eat my pussy. That changes things. And adds a weird dynamic to meeting someone. I'm going to put that in your lap. Nowadays, if I'm at a party and that happens, it's like, I have some witty comment and then I'm, face deep. But I mean, who knows? Back then, I was like, "No." And they said, and then they go, "Do you want me to suck your dick?" And I go, "No." Like, because again, I'm drunk and I'm like that weird, the kind of drunk where like if anybody touches you, you're like, "Ow," just that weird pain drunk. But I see this person and she's wearing like a dress and jewelry, like it's we're in high school or it's like or just after high school, and I'm like, so I don't know who this person is, but I remember it vividly, and I know that it happened. And again, I'm drunk, so people are like, "Well, maybe you misunderstood what this person said." I'm like, "No, absolutely not." So then I go home and I throw up out of Pete's car, and then I get to my house and I duck out of mowing the lawn. And then the next night we go to a party at whenever the way it worked in school, and I'm sure it might have worked that way for you, was whenever somebody's there was always houses you wound up at, and one of the houses we would go to, we went to Tony Genesis' house. So we go to Tony's house, and I had told the guys about what happened. I said, "Hey man, did some woman came up to me and they're just like, "Shut up, dude." And I'm like, "No, I'm completely serious. This happened. They, I don't know if they're fucking with me or just being stupid because I was drunk. I don't know what was happening, but they thought, I'm sure they didn't really want to have sex with me. I was a fat drunk guy. I mean, like, they had to just be fucking around with me, right?" And my friends are like, "We don't even believe that this happened. Quit telling us this story." So we go to Tony Genesis' house, and there's like 8 of us. We walk in, and we sit down, and Tony Genesis' mom comes into the room from the kitchen, and it's her. It is her. I know it the second she walks in the goddamn room. And I look at her, and she looks at me and goes, like, she's like got this weird face. So she knows she did it. I know she did it. And again, she might have been just fucking around with me. I have no idea. I'm sure she didn't want to have sex with this high school fat guy. But she's so busted. And I want to stand up and go, what were you thinking? But I'm so frozen because it's Tony's mom. We're in her house. We're in Tony's house. Tony's mom walks out and is wearing like a dress and jewelry. And so immediately I see her and she makes this face like, "Oh my God." Like, I don't know if she just thought she'd never see me again and just thought it was funny. Like, I picture, what makes me laugh now that I think about it as I'm an old man? I think that she had her own crew of friends and was like, "Watch this." And went and fucked with the drunk fat kid. That's the only thing I can think of now. But at the time, I wasn't that sophisticated. I was just going, what the hell? Why did Tony Genesis' mom ask if I wanted to eat her pussy? Why did that happen? But I know it was her. She walks in the room. She sees me. And immediately like, "All right, well, I'm going to go now." And she comes up with some, she was leaving anyway, but she hustled the fuck out of there. She's just like, "Okay, yeah, have a good time." She grabs her purse and leaves. And we're sitting there, and I look at my friend, and I pull him aside, and I go, "Dude, that was who it was." They go, "What?" I go, "That was who came up to me last night and rubbed my shoulders and said that to me." And they're like, "Tony's mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I don't even know if my friends believed me. Like, I don't even know, but I know she ran. She couldn't have run any faster out of her own home the second she saw me. So again, I guarantee she did it. I know, and again, now I know that she probably did it with her friends, like, "Watch this," and went to be stupid to me. And then the next day realized, oh shit, because she might have had a couple of cocktails in her too, and she was making fun of me. But then the next day she sees this, all of a sudden this 17-year-old kid is in her house, and she's like, "Oh no, my prank has come to life." So that was the story I was going to tell last week that I got off the rails. I forgot to go into. I was so mad when I heard that like last week. I even heard me say Tony Genesis' mom, and I went, "I didn't finish that. God damn it!" But again, I was sick last week, folks. I wound up in the emergency room, and I won't go into a huge, because I told you when Karen and I went to the emergency room for her. Well, let's put it this way: I went to the same emergency room because I was dizzy all day, and all day. By all day, I mean I woke up and had like bed spins. And you know what's funny is I'm sure you've had this happen where you've got some weird medical thing happening and you're like, that'll go away. Hey, my hands have swollen up to the point where I can't grasp a pen. I'm sure that'll fix itself. And it's so funny because I bust Karen's balls all the time. I go, "You know what? You have insurance." Ha, I said it right. I go, "You don't have insurance. You have insurance. So why not just go get fixed?" It's like if you have insurance, just go to the hospital. I don't care if you bit your tongue. I mean, you just go in and just go, "Ow, what's wrong?" "I don't know." You got insurance. You got to pay $100 and they got to look at you and tell you what's going on. So, but then that day I wake up and I'm dizzy to the point where in the shower I fell down, like dizzy to the point where I closed my eyes to, when you wash your hair with shampoo, and I just started tipping. Like a cow tipped, you know what I mean? I was like, and I had to grab the door and hold on. That kind of dizzy. And, of course, the first thing I did was I got in a car and drove. So, and then I wound up then I went to an IMAX theater that night. I haven't been to an IMAX theater in 15 years because I'm afraid I'm going to puke. But on the day that I can't stand up because I'm so dizzy, I go, "You know what? I'll go check out The Dark Knight at the IMAX theater. That'll be fun." And I was sitting there the whole time, and it was so funny. I would sit there and wind up leaning to the right and go, "All right, straighten yourself out, buddy." But I was dizzy the whole day. And that day I was at lunch with somebody, and I couldn't stop sweating, and I was pale and drawn and dizzy. And he's like, and my friend even said, "You look ridiculous." Yeah. I go, well, just so you know, I've been dizzy since I woke up this morning. So if anything happens, tell the paramedics that. But everything was fine until I got home that night. I told Karen I was dizzy. And then I'm sitting there, and in addition to dizzy, now, I've been dizzy the entire day. Now about midnight, I get a massive headache. Massive. Like behind the eyes, boom, boom, boom. Like it feels like your eyes are like moving with every beat of your heart. And I'm like, all right, this is bad. So again, 41. If I was 42, I would have really been worried. But at 41, I go over to the desk and I look up stroke. And it says dizziness and intense headache are two of the symptoms. And again, being a fat 40-year-old guy, I go, all right, that's pretty much all I need. And I left Karen in bed because I didn't want to bother her with this. So I drove myself to the hospital, thinking, well, I'm on the way to the hospital anyway. So if I wind up crashing, then that's good. I'll just get a ride there. So I get there, and it's like 3 a.m. And I figured, well, it's all right, good. Luckily, I'll breeze in and I'll breeze out. I walk in. There's 15 people in the emergency room, just moaning. A guy stands up. I'm not kidding you. Within 5 minutes of me being there and filling out the forms, a guy throws up on the floor of the waiting room. Just stands up, and his wife goes, he feels really bad. And then he just fucking hurls all over the ground. Like, and again, he's like 3 feet from a garbage can. Come on, friend. I don't care if you got the alien bursting out of your chest. There's other fucking people here. Make an effort. Don't just yak up onto the floor. Crazy junkie in the middle of the night. Is that a Moody Blues song? Crazy junkie in the middle of the night. Cold-hearted orb that rules the night. Cold-hearted orb. That's red is gray and yellow white. And it's all an illusion. That's Nights in White Satin, right? Yes, it is. All right, so I went up in the emergency room. I'm sitting there, and I'm dizzy, and my heart is beating really fast. I don't know why. I can't figure out what's happening. And then they call me in, and they take my blood pressure. And I think I told you this. Even as a crazy fat guy, my blood pressure was fine. My cholesterol was low. Doctors were really freaked out because they would say, look, man, you're really healthy. You're just 250 pounds overweight. We can't figure out why. I go, well, I can because I don't ever walk, and I spend my time eating. Like, that'll do it. Because I will, crawl on the floor to a ham. That's why I'm that fat. So, but this time I go into the hospital, they take my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was 172 over 135, which I think is bad. And I said to her, because I don't know if it's bad or not, because I'm used to getting it done at Target. I usually get it done at the mall when I'll walk by and I go, hey, I'm going to have a seat and go ahead and get my blood pressure checked right here outside of Hot Topic. So, they wind up doing that, and I said to her, I go, wow, that's terrible, right? Because usually it's like 120 over 80. I mean, it's usually pretty good, and I thought that was good anyway. And she goes, well, it's not that bad. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not that bad? I mean, I that seems crazy. So I go back out to the waiting room, and they then put me into a room within like 10 minutes. So I'm thinking now, all right, well, she told me it wasn't that bad, but they made me skip 13 people, including Johnny McPukes a lot, and I'm in my own fucking room, so obviously something's going on. So now I'm in the back, firmly convinced that I'm about to check out, and not of the hospital. So I'm making preparation in my brain for staying. Then they send in a nurse. And by nurse, I don't know if you've been to an emergency room recently. By nurse, I mean person filling in on the night shift who is not a fucking nurse. Person who has the uniform of a nurse but isn't a nurse. Literally, you know what? If Karen had gotten a hot nurse outfit from the adult bookstore and worn it, she would have just as many medical qualifications as this woman. She comes in. She goes to give me to take blood from me, and that turns into an ordeal as she doesn't use a needle. She tries to bite my arm open. No, that seems weird. No, she uses a needle, but then she pin cushions the shit out of my arm. Can't find a vein, and she keeps calling me sweet pea and honey, and she's being very calming, which is wonderful. But I'm trying to explain to her that I'm dizzy and I can't move, and then she wants a urine sample. And I'm like, all right, well, and then we go to walk to the restroom. I turn the corner coming out of the room, and fall and hit the wall because I'm dizzy. I have no equilibrium. So I pinball off the wall and then grab the thing so I don't hit the floor. She goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Well, I'm here for dizziness. Like I can't even, maybe you checked my chart, Rhonda?" And she goes, "Oh, well, you know what? Just do it right here." She expects me to give a urine sample in the hallway. She goes, "Do you need a wheelchair?" I go, "No, I don't need a wheelchair. I'll just go to the restroom." She goes, "No, I don't want you walking anymore. Just go ahead and right here. I'll stand in front of you." And I'm like, "All right, I'm not pissing in the hallway. I can make it to the bathroom. It's just you had me walking fast." And she's like, "No, it's okay, sir. Just go." And I go, "Look, please, just let me do this." So I get to the restroom. I do the urine sample thing, and I walk out. And I go back to where my room is, and I put it it's on the shelf. You know, they have that little rolling table, so it's on the table there. So I'm sitting there, and the doctor comes in, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm dizzy." And he says, "All right." And he looks in my ears. He goes, "Man, you got a lot of earwax in your ears." I said, "Yeah, I have a thing where I don't like to use Q-tips or anything." He goes, "Well, you shouldn't use Q-tips. You should use water." And I go, "Well, I understand that. I usually use peroxide." He goes, "Don't do that." And I go, "Well, that's usually what I do. But I was here," because I will tell you this. The last time I was in the emergency room was like 3 years ago. It was for the same exact thing. I had really intense ear pain, and it turned out I had a bunch of earwax that they had to get out. And the guy told me then, "Don't use peroxide. Just irrigate your ears or whatever, flush your ears." Well, if I can't use peroxide, they have this thing called irrigation, whatever. It doesn't work. Nothing works. I try to do it, and nothing works. Water just pours out of my ear, nothing comes out. So this guy's like, "All right, well, I'll take care of it. You know what? I'm going to have them irrigate your ear." I said, "Great." So he sends Rhonda back in. And Rhonda, again, who's dressed up like a nurse, is like, "All right, well, I'll take care of this." And then she goes in the other room, and I hear her. I can hear her because there aren't walls in an emergency room. There's curtains. And she says, "Hey, he wants me to irrigate his ear. What does that mean?" I'm not kidding. And the other nurse / pretender says, "Oh, you just pour a lot of water in his ear." And she's like, "Well, how do I do it? Do I pour it in?" And she goes, "Well, no, you use a syringe." And she's like, "Well, isn't that going to like," and she goes, "Well, you do it gently so it doesn't, you don't shoot it in there." And she's like, "Okay." So, and I'm freaking out now. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I can't believe this is going to happen. So she comes in the room, Rhonda. She's like, "All right, well, I'm going to irrigate your ear." She stacks me up with like 30 towels because it's all supposed to run out. She takes a syringe and she shoots ice cold water into my ears. Freezing cold into both ears. And when she does that, everything starts spinning. Like the entire room I'm dizzy on top of dizzy, but now it's dizzy on top of dizzy on top of dizzy. Like crazy. I'm actually white knuckling the bed, holding it, thinking I'm actually moving. And then I said, "All right, I can't even open my eyes because I'm going to get sick." "What's wrong?" I go, "Well, I'm dizzy. I told you I came in dizzy, but now I'm really dizzy." She's like, "Well, I'll tell the doctor." She leaves. I'm in there for 15 minutes, spinning. The doctor comes in, he looks in my ears, and I go, "Dude," he goes, "Did she use cold water?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh." Even the doctor says that. He looks in my ears and he goes, "They didn't get anything out of here." I said, "Well, she asked the other lady how to do it." He goes, "Oh, these people. These people!" The doctor says these people. So he's like, "Well, I got to do it myself." So he gets like a syringe and one of those little boats, and he fills it with water, and he shoots warm, like really kind of warm, hot water into my ears, which feels really great. And then he follows it up by putting a coat hanger in my ear. And that feels so bad. Like he's digging around. And I should tell you why I don't put anything in my ears. When I was a kid, I had a perforated eardrum. And I was out of work for 6 weeks. Out of work because I had a job as a child. I perforated eardrum, which meant, holes in your eardrum. And it was the worst. Like I was sick all the time and nauseous and headaches. So I don't put anything in my ear. I don't fuck around with my eardrum. So then he's digging around in there, and I'm like, he's digging in my ear, and he's got a metal. It just felt like imagine if the dentist worked on your ear. That's what it feels like. He's got this metal hook, and he's digging around in my head, and finally he does something, and he goes, "Oh," and he pulls what can only be described as a Twix bar out of my ear. It is this gigantic. It looks like beef jerky. That's what it looks like. This guy just pulled a Slim Jim out of my ear, and immediately I'm like, "Well, that actually, that feels pretty good. Thanks." And then he's like, "Now let's do the other ear." "No, I'm fine. That's okay. You don't need to do that." He's like, "No, it's okay. We'll do it." And then he goes over there and he pulls a Snickers bar out of that ear. I mean, just like this big baseball bat of earwax and nougat. And he just unplugs my head. And then he says, you know what? You're dehydrated and you had an inner ear thing. I go, well, did I have a stroke? Because I want to get. And I ask him because I'm not going to ask Rhonda because she has no idea what a stroke is. She's going to go look it up on the internet. And basically, he's like, no, I think you're fine. You know, your blood pressure's gone way down as you've been in here, and you're dehydrated, so we're going to give you a couple IVs and get you out of here. So he gives me the IVs, and by gives me the IVs, I mean he turns me loose on the chicks again. So she comes in, and she gives me an IV, and again, she's got to, like, prod and poke, and the IV finishes, and I nod off, because by now it's like 5 in the morning. It's 5:30. And finally, I wake up and I look down and the IV's gone and the thing's still in my arm and there's blood in the tube, like all the way down, because it's like a vacuum, I guess, so your blood comes out. So I buzz the buzzer and the nurse comes in and she's like, oh, look, I'll take care of that. And she literally, all she does is take it out of my arm. Like there's no cotton or anything, and she pulls it out and blood sprays all over my arm and all over the sheets. And I just go, and she looks at me and she goes, you don't have anything I need to be worried about, do you? What? Hey, Rhonda, I'm the sick one here, okay? And you're the professional, so maybe if you didn't let my blood shoot around like a fire hose, this wouldn't be a problem. She pulls the IV out and it sprays all over, like just this weird arterial spray, and asks me, you don't have anything I need to be worried about. I don't know. Why don't you read my chart, professional? Oh, God. Why don't you put a stethoscope up to my chart and see if it tells you anything? Unbelievable. Like I said, even the doctor. So then she leaves, and I want to go home, and she's like, all right, well, I'll get the doctor. So I sit up. Like I said, I've been asleep. As I sit up, I look. I'm still surrounded by towels with earwax, and all of the, like, bandages strips and all of the, like, that's all in the bed with me. Like, I'm in a bed filled with medical waste. Like, there's just, I'm like, what is going on? Doesn't anybody clean up in this goddamn joint? I turn around. I've been here now, mind you, I've been here almost 3 hours. My urine sample sits untouched next to the bed. I'm glad you needed that. I'm glad you hustled me into the hallway to get me to piss into a cup that would sit there. Are you waiting for, like, a bouquet to rise? What's happening? Unbelievable. So I wake up and I have blood on my arm and on my shirt. I have medical, like, things stuck to me. Like there's the bandages and all that, and also they stuck stuff to my chest. And I know there's no way she did this right. It's those monitoring electrode things. She stuck them right to my chest, like to my chest hair. So I've got 5 of them that I have to pull off, and I ripped them off, and now all of them look like they have a tarantula stuck to them. And I'm ripping them off, and I couldn't. I'm stunned, and I'm sitting there, and I'm getting dressed with the IV in my hand. She didn't take that one out, and I'm just like, I got to get the fuck out of here because this. I felt like Ron Kovic. That's what I felt like in Born on the 4th of July when he's just like sitting there and the drip is wrong and all the other veterans are there and he just goes, ah, just screams. I wanted to do that. I'm covered in filth. It was like some weird MASH unit ground zero hospital. I'm waiting for Hawkeye to come in and make a joke. So terrible. So that's why I was out of sorts last week. That's why I didn't get to the Janice story. And again, I use her last name because I'm an idiot. Oh, man. I cannot wait until my 25th year reunion. That is going to be fantastic. Okay, you guys can write me at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com, and I promise I will write you back. I know some of you have outstanding emails. I've been digging and digging, trying furiously, and I will get to you, I promise. I say that every week. I'm going to make a podcast that's just called I Promise. That from now on, and you can listen to that podcast. It'll be like an addendum to this, and it's me promising to do all the things that I said I would do on this podcast. Go to myspace.com/Mike Schmidt Comedy. Go to mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You guys can get me through there. That'd be fantastic. And also go to comedyfilmnerds.com. I owe them an article or 2 or 6. They have me going to a thing this weekend, and it should be a great time. I'm going to Shriek Fest, which I guess is a bunch of nerds dressed up as Pinhead from Hellraiser. Going to see monster movies. So I'm on board for that. I'm in. Shriek Fest, absolutely. I got to get home. I got to watch baseball. I am so excited about the Phillies, like really excited. But like I was so excited last year about them. There's nothing worse than being excited and then a team loses 3 in a row. You're like, really? That just happened? Because that's awful. And it's better now. I mean, I was a kid. You'd be in tears over baseball. You'd just be, oh no. I remember, in 1980, the Phillies played the Astros in a series, and it was one of those series that went 5 games. It's considered like one of the best series in baseball history. And it went 5 games, and then there was like extra innings, and the Phillies looked like they were going to lose. Then they came back, and I'm 13 and sobbing, and then like, yay, happy, and then sad. Oh. And that, kind of like you folks are listening to this anecdote. You're like, yay, he's telling a good story. No, awful, I'm going to cry. Yay, her mom. All right, so so go to Mike Schmidt, Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Write me a note. Go to MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Subscribe in iTunes. You can get your Zune feed, Zooners. Because I know you love your Zune. I get that email every week from people because I made a little. I try to make it be funny about the Zune every week, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm running out of that. I'm losing steam. But then people will write me and they'll be like, oh, you make fun of the Zune, huh? And then they're furiously angry and they write, I'm a PC and I like a Zune. Shut up. And I'm glad you like your Zune. Enjoy it. My little brother keeps sending me notes saying, the Zune is a fantastic invention. Shut up. If it was that great, then how come you couldn't buy any music when I was at your house because you can't get to the iTunes Music Store? Like we wanted to buy. I was at his house and we wanted to hear. We kept singing "Gay Bar" by Electric Six. I don't know if you know that song, but my brother Glenn and I can't stop singing it. Like we couldn't stop. Last year at this time, I was at his house in South Dakota, and we were just like, let's start a war, start a nuclear war at the gay bar, gay bar, gay bar. And I love that song. We love that song. So I was like, dude, dial up the iTunes Music Store, and I'll buy the Electric Six right now. Because I didn't bring my laptop. So I go, I'll just buy it for you, and then we'll listen to it all night while we're in here as I watch you play World of Warcraft, and your genie runs around and punches your Minotaur. I don't know what you've got. I don't play Warcraft, but Glenn was showing it to me, and I was like, this is great, because I am fascinated by that. To me, that's just like watching TV. But I could sit there and watch my brothers play Shining Force, or Dragon's Lair. First of all, nobody played Dragon's Lair at their house. I take that back. Dragon's Lair was a game that you would play. It was like an interactive game. Like you could choose. Like one of those books where it would say, do you want the treasure or do you want a sandwich? Go to page 68. So then you go to page 68 and it's like, you ate the sandwich and died, idiot. So it was a choose-your-own-adventure book. So Dragon's Lair was like a choose-your-own-adventure game where you were like this weird guy, and it was like, you want to fight the dragon or get your mail? Well, I think I'm going to go and see if I have any bills to pay. So you'd go get your mail, and it'd be like, you're a pussy, you should have fought the dragon, you lose. So I would enjoy watching those games because I don't want to play them. I want to watch them unfold. So I would watch my brothers play Shining Force, and I watched my brother Glenn play Warcraft. So because it was like, oh, wow, is that your mage? I mean, I don't know what the hell that means, but I don't care. I was involved. And so Glenn's got his guys running around doing their thing. So I'm like, I will buy Electric Six on the iTunes, and we'll sing Gay Bar all night watching World of Warcraft because it seems very appropriate. And he's like, oh, dude, I have a Zune. Like, I can't buy music on the iTunes Music Store. And I'm just like, what? Who can't use the iTunes Music Store? Like, you would think that the Zune... I mean, it's going to play music anyway, but I guess they built it in where it's not compatible, or I have no idea. I don't understand because I can't even grasp the concept of the Zune. I don't know who went, well, the iPod is brilliant, it's sleek, it's streamlined, it's incredibly easy. Where's that knockoff I've heard so much about? Why don't I go ahead and pick that up? It just seems so crazy to me. I mean, is it that much cheaper? Because every time I see like a Zune, it's like, here's the Zune. It's only $199 and it holds 3 gigs of music. It seems like the Walkman of Zunes or the Walkman of iPods. Like, just, it seems crazy to me. But my brother Glenn bought it and he loves it. And he can write you a long manifesto about why it's better. And he's got all these reasons. And I'm sure they're all correct. But I wanted to play Electric Six Gay Bar for him and I couldn't buy it. When did that even come up? What the hell was I talking about? I have no idea. What do we got? Oh, we're at 1:05, folks. 1 hour, 5 minutes. But that's before edits. So we could actually be at the 20-minute mark. I have no idea how Lili works it. Lili might go ahead and get out the scalpel. I got to get home and watch some baseball, folks. I got to watch the Phillies, and I got I really got to watch it because I'm taping 7 hours of baseball today, and my TiVo is so full. I hate playing TiVo roulette when it's like 9 shows are going to be. If you tape this, 9 shows will be eliminated in an hour. So then you've got to get home and watch those 9 shows before they get eliminated. Like this morning, I got up and it's terrible. So I'm losing it. We had to watch a show, and the thing is, I am the king of the TiVo at my house. Like, I have a bedroom TiVo and a living room TiVo. The living room TiVo is where all the mutual stuff goes in, basically my stuff, because I'm up all night and Karen's in bed. And so in the bedroom, she's got her stuff. Well, I wound up having to tape a Nova episode for her, and she wanted to watch it. So I'm like, all right. So she's watching it. It's a show about Hitler's gold or something. I don't know what the hell it was. And she's telling me, she's like, oh, it's Hitler's gold. But it was in a ship, and the ship sank. And Karen was like, and they had to tell Hitler, and Hitler was like really mad. I'm like, when wasn't Hitler really mad? Was there ever a point in time where he was just like, hey, the gold's gone, that's cool, I'm fine with it? No, he was fucking Hitler, so he was furious all the time. And Karen's like, she goes, but imagine that, like, Karen made me laugh because she's like, imagine those guys having to tell Hitler that the gold is gone. Like, and they're like, are you going to tell him? I'm not going to tell him. And I said, you know what I think at that point? I go, I guarantee I know what they said. And Karen's like, what? I go, I guarantee one of them went, send in the Jew. Because they were like, you know what? He doesn't like those people anyway. Better he hears it from them than he hears it from me. So he's like, hey, you know what? Goldberg, get in there and talk to Hitler. You gotta tell him here, hand him this note. Get in there and make sure he gets this news pronto. So Goldberg goes in and he's like, hey, Mr. Schickelgruber, I got a note for you. I got some news. Bad news about the boat. And you know what's funny is I should have watched the show because maybe this happened early in the Hitler regime and that's what made him hate the Jews. Like maybe Hitler's boat gold got sunk. They sent the Jew in with the message, and he went, "Ich bin Geistbespinner!" And he was furious, and he sprayed Goldberg with spittle, and then he opened 9 concentration camps. I don't know how it worked. Maybe that was the trigger for the whole thing. But the fact that Karen even had that thought made me laugh, that she's like, wow, Hitler was just, he must have been really mad. Yes, he must have been. Have you ever seen any clips of him? The guy's furious constantly. I mean, and the thing is, I don't even know if he is furious. What if he was just like that all the time? That'd be why people misunderstood Hitler, because he talked like that even when he was just like ordering a sandwich or some soup. Ich bin ein Beschützer Soup! I don't even know if that means soup. I'm not German, folks. I am half German, but not German enough to know what that means. Hopefully I didn't just swear or say something horrible in German. Ich bin ein Big Stiegler Schneebaschno Soup! I don't know what that means. So look it up. So by all means, tell me what that sentence means. It might mean I fuck married women and I don't shower, which we learned in another episode was a fraternity accident. All right, so, but yeah, Hitler he wasn't like an easygoing guy. It wasn't like the gold pushed him over the edge, but apparently my wife thought that it was the gold that knocked him into Hitler.
Folks, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk.
And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick.
finished. You're 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 finished.